Alright, class, ready for some more Wishtree. I'm rocking my Avs gear today. I got Peter Forsberg. He was my favorite player when I used to watch him a ton. Now I just kind of keep up with them. But I got this super, it's like really big on me too. But I like my hat. So, go Avs. Sad we didn't get to watch them play in the NHL playoffs. They were looking really good, maybe even a run for the Stanley Cup, so it's kind of a bummer. We left off finishing chapter 36. Oh no, we finished 37, huh? I wrote that wrong in the last thing. Oh well. So we're on chapter 38 actually, and that is page 151, and we are still listening to Red talk to Steven and Samar. He's just rambling along, and we need to figure out how they react. So we just found out that Maeve is actually, the girl Maeve from way back in the day is the great-great-grandmother of Francesca, who lives across the street, who wants to cut down Red. We only got a little bit left, so we're almost done. All right, let's keep going. As for me, my reputation grew. Hadn't Maeve's wish come true in the heart of a wish tree? Didn't that mean anything was possible? Of course, the squibbles often reminded me I had nothing to do with it. This isn't a fairy tale, Red, he would say. But people are full of longings, and a decade after decade, the hopes kept coming. A blessing and a burden, it had been all those wishes, all those years. But everyone needs to hope. Chapter 39. At long last, I stopped talking. Once the words had spilled out, it was like trying to stop the wind. In the silence that followed, I felt as if the whole world was holding its breath. I'd broken the rule. Stephen and Samar still stared open-mouthed at me. They looked as rooted to the ground as I was. Neither had uttered a sound while I told my story. The front door to Stephen's house opened. "Stephen!" called his father. "What the heck are you doing, young man?" Stephen leapt to his feet. Here I come, Dad. Night, Samar." "Night, Stephen," she said. Stephen dashed away toward the porch, but stopped halfway. He spun around to look at me. "Thanks?" he said in a quizzical voice, using the same tone he might have used if Bongo had just made him pancakes. The door slammed behind him. Samar stood, holding her blanket to her chest. "I know I must be dreaming," she said. She headed to her own porch and eased open the door. "I just wish," she added with a smile, "that I didn't have to wake up." So she thinks she's dreaming, even though she's not, but she likes the dream, so she's hoping that it is true, I guess. Chapter 40. Almost instantly I regretted what I'd done. I'd broken the rule, the biggie. I'd deliberately spoken to people. And not just a few words, I spoke in a river of words. It wasn't like the frog in the mailbox. I hadn't broken the rule accidentally. I'd broken the rule because I wanted something. I wanted to matter. I wanted to do something meaningful before I died. I'd done it for myself. After the shocked babies and their equally shocked parents were safely ensconced in their dens, I admitted my feelings to Bongo. I waited for her to yell at me. Bongo was good at yelling. Extremely good. You might even say she has a gift. "Why did I do it, Bongo?" I murmured. "Why?" She flew to my home plate. She stroked my rough bark with her sleek head. "You did it, my wise old tree, because you had a story to tell." "It was foolish," I said. "I'm not supposed to be foolish." "Not so foolish," Bongo said. "Just hopeful. And everyone needs to hope, Red. Even wise old trees." So Bongo approves. Chapter 41. Morning emerged slowly, heavy with clouds. A light rain had fallen just before dawn, soothing my leaves, if not my mood. Oddly, the ground felt saturated. Spring was always muddy, of course, but this was unusual. It would make for a messy wishing day tomorrow. An early rising old gentleman with bamboo cane approached. He paused to attach a small piece of blue paper to my lowest branch, using a bit of twine. So it's wishing day. He didn't say his wish out loud, so I couldn't tell what it was. But he had a satisfied smile as he stepped carefully through the soggy grass. No doubt I'd be seeing more wishes today. Many people came to grab an easy-to-reach spot. This would probably be my last wishing day. How could it be that my first one, that long ago day, with Maeve still seemed fresh in my heart as my conversation with Stephen and Samar from the previous night. A car slowed to a crawl near the curb. I saw an arm, a blur, and then a splat. Something hit my trunk. Splat, splat, 2 more times, and the car roared off with a screech of tires. Bongo was first to report on the damage. Raw eggs, she said. I'm assuming that didn't hurt. Didn't feel a thing, I said. Fresh baked bread, Harry Spiders, and Big U ventured out to inspect the situation. Big U slipped under the police tape and licked off the yolk sliding down my trunk. She murmured. Raw, just the way I like 'em. Hey, Big, share the wealth, Harry Spider snapped as she and Fresh joined her. Agnes watched from her perch. I'd much prefer a squirmy mouse pup, she said. It's all yours, ladies. What a nice surprise, Big U said between slurps. This is not nice, Bungo said. This is people at their worst. Still, said Harry Spiders, licking her paws. It'd be a shame to let perfectly good egg go to waste. One creature's nastiness is another creature's nibble. Big U gave a satisfied burp, and the animals scampered back to their homes. The door to Stephen's house opened. He walked over to me, saw the eggshells scattered like puzzle pieces, and scowled. Samar was next, a backpack slung over her shoulder and books clutched to her chest. She leapt over a muddy puddle and joined Stephen. Jerks, he muttered, gesturing toward an egg remains. Sorry, Samar. Remember, I can say that word. You shouldn't say that word. You guys are in 3rd grade, almost 4th. You are mature enough now to hear the word and know not to repeat it. But Samar held up her hand. Stephen, she said in a low voice. Last night. Stephen nodded ever so slightly. His eyes locked on me. Last night, he repeated, as if they were speaking in code. The tree? The tree? You heard what I heard? Samar asked. I did. Samar looked right at Stephen. You heard the tree? I heard the tree. Samar gave a little nod. So it wasn't maybe a trick? Somebody playing a joke on us? Maybe we were both sleepwalking at the same moment, Stephen suggested. He nodded as if trying to convince himself. Yeah, sleepwalking. Have you ever sleepwalked before? No, but there's a first time for everything. He stood there, looking at me unexpectantly, willing me to speak. At least that's how it felt. I stayed silent. I said my piece, and I regretted it. Stephen, Samar said softly, whatever happens, we can't tell a soul about this. Deal? Deal. Ever. Samar sighed. People would say we were crazy, and then they'd probably be right, said Stephen. Samar jutted her chin at me. Tree, do you have anything to add? I didn't say a word. Samar and Stephen shared a smile. Figured it was worth a shot, she said. They headed off to school together. Stephen's father came out onto the porch. He was holding a cup of coffee. He caught sight of Stephen and Samar and frowned. A moment later, Samar's mother stepped out of the blue house, her keys jangling, a briefcase over her shoulder. She followed her neighbor's gaze. Both parents watched in silence until Stephen and Samar, walking side by side, disappeared from view. So Stephen's dad doesn't like the idea of them walking to school together. That's a little sad, because he doesn't even know Samar, so he shouldn't really be judging her just based on probably her looks. So we only have... There's only 51 chapters in the book, and we're on 42. You do the math. We don't have very far to go. So we'll be finishing it up here in the next few videos. And see... You need to make a prediction. Are they ever going to catch the bad guy? That's a good question. And is Red going to make it? Are they going to cut down Red? And... yeah, what's going to happen for the rest of Wishing Day, too? You never know. All right. I'll see you next time.